All right, so ready to jump into the world of wedding planning. We're going to dig into what it really takes to pull off those picture-perfect weddings, beyond the Pinterest boards and Instagram filters. We've got some interesting stuff to unpack today from RoleCatcher, their wedding planner career guide, some tips on nailing those job interviews with a little help from AI, and their breakdown of how to streamline your job search. Buckle up because this is about way more than just deciding between peonies and hydrangeas.
Oh, absolutely. RoleCatcher doesn't sugarcoat it, that's for sure. Like that what they do section in their guide, it's a real eye-opener. You're not just a creative visionary, you're a master of logistics, a therapist for stressed out couples, a diplomat negotiating with vendors, and you're doing it all while rocking some killer shoes, I'd imagine.
You're making it sound like you need the organizational skills of a CEO and the patience of a saint, all rolled into one. One thing that really jumped out at me was how much they emphasize the role of technology. I mean, yeah, we live in a digital world, but I just figured wedding planning would still be pretty hands-on.
That's where things have really changed. Forget those dusty old binders. RoleCatcher talks about using software for everything from creating 3D layouts of venues to managing contracts with vendors. They even have tech now to keep track of those RSVPs and payments. Can you believe it? Have you started exploring those kinds of tools yet? They could be a game changer, especially when you're first starting out.
Makes you wonder if coding classes are the new flower arranging workshops, huh? But in all seriousness, let's get real about the pros and cons here. I mean, on the one hand, you're creating these incredibly special moments for people. But on the other hand, I imagine the pressure's off the charts. RoleCatcher definitely doesn't shy away from the realities of unpredictable income and, let's just say, dealing with some demanding personalities along the way.
And that's where those so-called soft skills are non-negotiable. It's interesting, RoleCatcher actually ranks active listening and social perceptiveness as being just as important as things like budgeting and contract negotiation. Which makes sense when you think about it. You're not just managing a timeline, you're managing expectations, anxieties, and maybe even some family drama. It's a whole other level of people skills.
Totally. This isn't just about what you know, it's about how you handle those inevitable curveballs. And let's be real, we've all seen those wedding reality shows.
Yeah,
Things can get a little crazy.
tell me about it. And you definitely can't underestimate the importance of staying ahead of the game in this industry. RoleCatcher really stresses that this isn't the kind of career where you learn everything once and you're good to go. Trends are constantly changing, from dress styles and catering options to what's considered Instagrammable. They recommend really immersing yourself in the industry, going to expos, following blogs, that kind of thing.
Sounds like you've got to have a high tolerance for a fast-paced environment. So let's switch gears for a minute and talk career progression. RoleCatcher lays out a pretty clear path. You start as an assistant, then move up to junior planner, then planner, and eventually senior planner. And of course, with each step up comes more responsibility, but luckily also the potential to earn more.
And this is where having a solid portfolio becomes super important. RoleCatcher really emphasizes that even starting small is key. Don't underestimate the value of helping friends plan their weddings or volunteering for smaller events. It's all about showcasing your style and how you handle problems.
It's like if you can gracefully handle a situation where the wedding cake takes a tumble, you can handle anything, right? Yeah. Now, RoleCatcher also mentioned two certifications, the CWP, which stands for Certified Wedding Planner, and the CSP, which is Certified Special Event Professional. What's the lowdown on those?
Think of them as credentials that give you an edge, especially since it can be such a competitive field. The CWP is laser focused on, well, weddings, of course, while the CS key has a broader scope and covers things like corporate events and galas, you name it.
That makes sense. So someone might go for the CSP if they're thinking of expanding beyond just weddings someday.
Exactly. It all comes down to your long-term goals. But the main takeaway is that these certifications show potential clients and employers that you've really invested in your professional development, and that can make a big difference when you're trying to build a name for yourself.
Especially if you're dreaming of eventually branching out and starting your own wedding planning business one day. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're talking about landing that dream job first. And this is where RoleCatcher's focus on tech gets really interesting.
It's true, the game's changed. It's not just about you hunting down jobs anymore, it's about jobs finding you. And that's where their AI-powered platform comes into play.
Okay, you've got to tell me more what's so special about it.
So picture this. Instead of firing off your resume into the void and crossing your fingers, their platform actually takes your skills and experience and matches you with job openings that are a good fit. No more wasting time on applications that are a long shot.
That's amazing. But how does it actually work?
They use something called Copilot AI, basically. It acts like your personal career coach. It gives you feedback on your resume, your cover letter, even helps you practice for interviews. It's like having a secret weapon for navigating the job market.
Wow, talk about leveling up your job search. But even with all the tech in the world, at the end of the day, landing that dream job still comes down to one thing: you. So let's talk about what makes a wedding planner really stand out, beyond just the logistics and checklists.
It's funny you should say that because RoleCatcher actually brings up a really interesting point about that. They talk about how a wedding planner's unique style is kind of their superpower. It's not just about following the trends, it's about having your own point of view.
I like that. So it's less about being a blank slate for the couple and more about being an artist who brings their own style and vision to the table.
Exactly. Are you drawn to like vintage elegance or maybe modern minimalism, bohemian chic? Whatever your aesthetic is, that's what's going to attract clients who really vibe with your vision. But it goes deeper than that, too. It's also about your approach to client relationships, your problem-solving style, even your energy level. All of that contributes to your personal brand.
Makes sense. I mean, planning a wedding is such a deeply personal experience. You're not just hiring someone to check things off a list. You're bringing someone into one of the most important and meaningful moments of your life.
100%. And that's where those soft skills we were talking about come in again. Remember, we were talking about active listening and social perceptiveness. Well, RoleCatcher really emphasizes that those qualities are what really set apart a good wedding planner from a truly great one.
It's about really tuning into those unspoken needs, the anxieties, maybe even the family dynamics that tend to bubble up during the planning process.
You got it. A great wedding planner knows how to read between the lines, anticipate challenges, and offer support and reassurance when things start to feel overwhelming. It's about being that calming presence in the midst of what can often feel like a total whirlwind.
It makes you realize that a big part of this job is really about being a professional problem solver. And not just for the major things like a vendor canceling or a freak snowstorm in July. It's also about things like managing expectations, mediating disagreements, and coming up with creative solutions on the fly.
Resourcefulness, adaptability, and a good dose of grace under pressure. It's essential. RoleCatcher even has a whole section about dealing with difficult clients. They say it's pretty much guaranteed that every wedding planner will encounter that at some point.
Let's be real. Weddings can bring out the best, and sometimes not so much in people, right? So how do you navigate those tricky situations, say, where a bride's vision is clashing with her budget, or maybe family members have very different ideas about how things should go?
RoleCatcher is big on setting really clear boundaries from the beginning. That means being super upfront about your role, your responsibilities, and your fees. It's also important to establish a clear process for dealing with disagreements and making it clear that while you're there to guide and support, you're not a magician, right?
Speaking of magicians, you mentioned earlier how important technology is in the world of wedding planning these days. It's easy to get caught up in the human side of things, but let's dive into some of those tech tools that can make a planner's life a little bit easier.
Oh, for sure. Gone are the days of relying solely on spreadsheets and those three-ring binders bursting at the seams. Wedding planners today have access to some incredible software and platforms that streamline every aspect of the process.
So we're talking more than just Pinterest boards and Instagram for inspiration. What kind of tech should aspiring planners be familiar with?
Well, first off, project management software is essential for staying organized, hitting those deadlines, and keeping a close eye on budgets. You're juggling multiple vendors, timelines, and often very, shall we say, specific client requests. Project management software helps keep everything on track.
I can only imagine how helpful that is,
Yeah.
especially if you're juggling multiple weddings at the same time. What else?
There are also platforms designed specifically for vendor management, which are amazing. They can really streamline communication, help you keep track of contracts, and even manage payments all in one central location.
Wow. Sounds like these platforms could eliminate so many administrative headaches and free up more time for the creative side of the job and building those all-important client relationships.
Exactly. And we can't forget about the tech tools that couples are using to plan their own weddings these days. Online registries, venue booking platforms, virtual wedding planners, digital guest list managers. There's an app for everything.
Right.
Technology is really giving couples the power to be much more hands-on with designing their big day.
That's so interesting. It sounds like technology is changing the whole dynamic between wedding planners and their clients. making it more collaborative than ever.
Absolutely, and that's something that anyone who wants to be a wedding planner should really embrace. Being comfortable with technology, both for your own processes and for communicating and collaborating with clients, is absolutely essential in today's wedding industry.
It sounds like the ideal wedding planner is someone who's mastered both the digital and the human touch. Someone who can navigate spreadsheets and software like a pro, but also understands the emotional nuances that come with planning such a momentous occasion. But beyond those technical skills and people skills, RoleCatcher also highlights one more ingredient that's crucial for success in this field.
Yeah, that's something that makes you unforgettable. It's like that special sauce that sets you apart from all the other amazing planners out there. They actually call it your X factor, which I kind of love. It's that unique combination of your personality, your passion, and your perspective. And the best part is you don't have to invent it or anything. It's already there inside you.
That's so true. So it's less about trying to fit into some kind of mold and more about figuring out what makes you you, right?
Exactly. RoleCatcher is all about figuring out your own thing. They encourage you to think about your values, what you're passionate about, your strengths, what lights you up, what are you naturally drawn to. Like maybe you have a knack for weaving in cultural traditions, or maybe you're super passionate about sustainability.
Maybe you're amazing at transforming these unconventional spaces into magical wedding venues. Or maybe you just have a gift for putting those nervous couples at ease.
Exactly. Those are all amazing examples of X factors. It's all about leaning into what makes you different, what makes you special. Because when you're authentically you, that's when you're going to attract the clients who really connect with your vision and trust you to create that dream wedding for them.
It's so true. When you're passionate about what you do, it definitely shines through in everything you do. But finding your X factor is just the first step, right? What about actually putting yourself out there and building a successful business?
Well, one thing that RoleCatcher brings up is that the wedding industry is built on relationships. It's not just about the couples who are getting married, it's about the whole network of vendors and other professionals you collaborate with to make those weddings happen.
So networking is super key. But we're not just talking about handing out a stack of business cards at some industry event, are we?
Definitely not. It's about building real connections, fostering trust, and building a reputation for being amazing at what you do and totally professional. RoleCatcher suggests things like reaching out to vendors whose work you love, going to workshops and conferences, and even volunteering to assist some more established planners.
It's about learning from the best, building that network, and really becoming a valued part of the whole wedding community.
Exactly. And then as you get more experience and build up your portfolio, don't be afraid to really showcase your unique style and your perspective. Let your personality come through in your marketing materials, your social media, and of course, your interactions with clients.
Because in the end, people hire people they connect with, right?
Absolutely. So, as you're starting out on this journey, remember that while things like logistics and checklists are super important, that real magic of wedding planning comes from those human connections you make and the unforgettable moments you help to create.
It's all about taking those dreams and turning them into a reality, one perfectly organized detail at a time.
Well said. And who knows, maybe you'll be the one helping someone say I do in a way they never even imagined.
That's a wrap. We've gone deep into the world of wedding planning today, everything from those essential skills and must-have tech tools to the importance of finding your niche and building a business that thrives. It's definitely a challenging path, but man, is it rewarding for those who are truly passionate about creating these unforgettable experiences.
And as you continue to explore the world of wedding planning, remember that RoleCatcher is an amazing resource. They offer guidance, support, and even those super cool AI-powered tools to help you every step of the way.
So what are you waiting for? Get out there and start planning some dream weddings.